much good going on in the WNBA. I think that basketball is being played at the highest level it's ever been. I think our team in specific, we are breaking history right now with the amount of points that we're scoring on back-to-back games. I think the Minnesota game, there's just so much distraction. I think the WNBA media, all we ever do is cover everything except basketball. And it's like, what are we doing? There's so much, you can talk about other things. I think those are great stories. I think it shows fans, who people are outside of the court. But I also think we got to keep the main.
This is the most emotionally devastating and explosive scandal to ever rip through the highest corridors of modern women's basketball. A moment of pure, unfiltered vulnerability that has shattered the entire sports universe and exposed the darkest, most predatory underbelly of mainstream sports journalism. Imagine sitting inside a suffocating, packed press conference room, where national media outlets have spent months launching coordinated psychological attacks, fabricating ruthless locker room feuds, and systematically attempting to destroy the mental well-being of the generation's biggest prodigy. Right before the flashing cameras of the global media, Caitlin Clark completely broke down in uncontrollable, agonizing tears. She was visibly trembling, utterly exhausted from carrying the unbearable weight of relentless smear campaigns, fabricated headlines, and endless corporate exploitation. The atmosphere instantly turned into a tense, agonizing pressure cooker of raw emotional trauma and complete executive panic. Then, when no one expected it, Sophie Cunningham stepped directly between Clark and the predatory press pack, slamming her fists onto the podium and unleashing an unbridled, scorching tirade in defense of her superstar teammate. This was not a scripted public relations maneuver. It was an absolute war cry against a toxic media machine designed to tear young women apart for cheap clicks. Right now, the entire sports world is completely frozen in shock, asking one terrifying question. What sick, manufactured media life finally pushed Caitlin Clark over the edge? To truly grasp the sheer intensity of this heartbreaking breakdown, you have to look back at the calculated, multi-million-dollar media machine that has hunted Caitlin Clark since the very moment she stepped into the professional league. She was sold to the public as an unstoppable global phenomenon, a generational savior brought in to single-handedly elevate women's basketball to unprecedented financial heights. But behind the glitz, the glowing primetime coverage, and the historic sellout crowds, major media networks were quietly building a far more sinister, profit-driven strategy centered around chaos and psychological destruction. Day after day, ruthless sports journalists and sensationalist talking heads realized that authentic basketball analysis simply didn't generate the viral rage required to drive record-breaking network ratings. They intentionally stopped covering her legendary court vision, her surgical shooting accuracy, and her relentless work ethic, opting instead to manufacture fake personal feuds, amplify toxic locker room jealousies, and twist every single breath she took into a national controversy. Every off-court gesture, every innocent pregame comment, and every routine interaction with co-stars like Kelsey Mitchell or Aaliyah Boston was systematically sliced up, edited out of context, and weaponized to portray Clark as an entitled, polarizing figure who was secretly despised by her own peers. The psychological toll on Clark was brutal, suffocating, and terrifyingly constant, forcing a 22-year-old phenom to live inside a high-stress isolation chamber where every word she uttered was instantly distorted by corporate click farmers. While the league and corporate sponsors racked up astronomical profits off her name, nobody in power moved a single finger to protect her emotional stability from these endless hit pieces. Inside team facilities, an unbearable aura of paranoia began to take hold, as players realized that any normal conversation could be leaked, twisted, and converted into a toxic national headline by hungry media vultures. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a fearless, fiercely protective veteran who had spent years inside the league watching mainstream media corporations ruthlessly exploit female athletes for cheap engagement. Cunningham recognized the exact warning signs of an athlete being pushed toward a dangerous, mental breaking point under the weight of engineered public outrage. She watched in absolute disgust as major networks held onto outdated, out-of-context interview clips for months, waiting for the most vulnerable, high-stakes moment in the season to drop explosive hit pieces designed to fracture the Indiana Fever's chemistry from the inside out. The emotional history between Clark, the predatory sports media, and a protective teammate like Cunningham was a ticking time bomb fast approaching absolute zero. Clark was quietly drowning in a sea of corporate exploitation, trying desperately to maintain her composure while the media built an empire on her suffering. The stage was set for a historic collision, but no one could have ever predicted the terrifying, gut-wrenching moment when the dam would finally burst under the blistering heat of the media spotlight. The catastrophic explosion erupted during a high-stakes post-game press conference following a grueling, highly contested battle against rival Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. Instead of asking about the tactical adjustments, the ferocious game-winning drive, or the sheer athletic display on the hardwood, a prominent national sports journalist grabbed the microphone and launched a deeply invasive, completely fabricated personal attack disguised as a question. The reporter weaponized a fake, leaked locker room rumor claiming that Clark had privately expressed elitist contempt toward her veteran teammates, intentionally orchestrating a media smear designed to paint her as an arrogant, toxic presence inside the locker room. The sheer maliciousness of the line of questioning slammed into the media room like an emotional grenade, instantly sucking the oxygen directly out of the facility. Clark sat frozen beneath the blinding TV lights, her hands visibly shaking as months of suppressed trauma, mental exhaustion, and constant public humiliation violently caught up to her all at once. Before she could even utter a single word in self-defense, the young superstar completely lost control of her emotions, dropping her head into her hands and sobbing uncontrollably in front of dozens of flashing camera lenses. The entire room dissolved into absolute, agonizing chaos as reporters frantically snapped photos of the golden child breaking down into raw, unadulterated heartbreak. Executive producers and league representatives stood in frozen, absolute panic in the back of the auditorium, realizing that a live television broadcast had just captured the ultimate human tragedy of corporate exploitation. That was the exact moment the room took a sharp, terrifying turn that nobody in that press corps was prepared for. Sophie Cunningham, who was seated right beside Clark, slammed her heavy metal water bottle onto the wooden dais with a deafening crack that echoed like a gunshot across the silent room. Her eyes burning with pure, unbridled fury, Cunningham aggressively reached over, snatched the microphone directly out of the reporter's hands, and stood up to confront the press pack face-to-face. She didn't just reject the question. She launched into a blistering, unfiltered war cry, publicly accusing mainstream media networks of running a coordinated, illegal hit job designed to emotionally torture a 22-year-old athlete for corporate ad revenue. Cunningham directly called out named journalists for sitting on fabricated stories, manipulating interview timelines, and feeding the public sick, manufactured lies just to farm clicks off of Clark's pain. The atmosphere transformed from a routine media briefing into explosive, high-stakes battleground as Cunningham fearlessly put the entire WNBA media ecosystem on trial right on live global television. She wrapped her arm protectively around a weeping Clark, shielding her from the invasive cameras while daring any executive in the building to try and cut her microphone off. The bold defense shattered the unspoken rule of athlete media diplomacy, exposing a deep, dark war raging behind the scenes between players and corporate media outlets. And just as security guards scrambled toward the podium to force an immediate end to the broadcast, Cunningham dropped a final, breathtaking bombshell that exposed a secret executive mandate hidden within the league's highest offices. Within seconds of Cunningham's explosive stand, the live press conference feed was abruptly cut to black by terrified network executives, but the psychological war had already escalated beyond any point of control. As security personnel swarmed the podium trying to forcefully confiscate the microphone, Cunningham did not back down. She leaned directly into the remaining hot mic, exposing a high-level secret meeting held by corporate sports executives just 48 hours prior. She revealed that major media representatives and league media coordinators had explicitly discussed a sinister editorial strategy designed to deliberately manufacture dramatic mental breakdowns and locker room rifts surrounding Clark. The secret agenda was simple yet horrific: Driven by falling mid-season ratings, executives realized that traditional basketball coverage wasn't generating enough multi-million-dollar ad revenue, so they deliberately engineered a toxic psychological environment to force Clark into a public breakdown. The room devolved into utter, frantic pandemonium as reporters began shouting over each other. Camera crews refused orders from security to stop recording, and low-level staff members sprinted to lock the exit doors. Behind the curtain, Indiana Fever executives and high-ranking WNBA officials were in a state of absolute, unadulterated corporate meltdown, realizing that Cunningham had just publicly exposed a multi-network conspiracy on live global television. Meanwhile, Clark, still trembling from emotional distress, was escorted into a private back room by medical staff, but the predatory pressure followed her directly down the corridor. Aggressive media handlers from major networks tried to push past security guards, attempting to coerce Clark into signing an immediate public retraction statement to clear the networks of any legal liability before the news went viral. When Cunningham witnessed media executives attempting to corner an emotionally shattered Clark inside the training room, her fury reached a terrifying boiling point. She physically blocked the doorway, engaging in a heated, nose-to-nose shouting match with high-ranking league officials, threatening to release private text messages and recorded phone calls that proved the media hit job was completely orchestrated. The escalation reached its absolute peak when news leaked that several veteran players from across the league, including rivals who had previously clashed with Clark on the court, were standing in solidarity with Cunningham outside the facility. The narrative that Clark was an isolated, unliked target within her own league collapsed in a single instant, replaced by a massive, unified player rebellion against corporate exploitation. League Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was forced to make an emergency landing on a private jet, rushing toward the city to personally manage a crisis that threatened to bankrupt the league's public image. The entire corporate structure behind modern women's basketball was officially fracturing into pieces under the intense weight of its own greed and unethical manipulation. Yet, just as the league scrambled to issue a heavily sanitized press release claiming the entire incident was a minor miscommunication, a leaked internal document surfaced on social media that took the scandal into an entirely unprecedented legal territory. The moment that internal document surfaced online, the sports media world exploded into total, unmitigated anarchy. The leak contained direct email threads from high-ranking network producers explicitly laying out a plan to target Clark's mental stamina, tracking metrics on how sensationalized storylines about her personal life drove a 300% surge in social media engagement. Within minutes, the hashtag #ProtectTheAthletes began trending globally at #1, with millions of outraged fans calling for a complete viewer boycott of the networks involved. The backlash wasn't just digital. Thousands of furious supporters gathered outside network studios and team arenas, holding signs that demanded immediate resignations from mainstream sports anchors who had built their careers on spreading manufactured lies about the young phenom. Inside the Indiana Fever locker room, the emotional fallout was deep, heavy, and unprecedented. The calculated media attempt to tear the roster apart backfired entirely, sparking a fierce, protective brotherhood among players who realized they were all just disposable content to corporate executives. Co-stars Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell issued a joint statement alongside veteran leaders, slamming the predatory press tactics and publicly backing Cunningham's explosive defense of Clark. However, the human toll on Clark herself was agonizingly visible. Cut off from social media and surrounded by heavy team security, the rookie star was reportedly so shaken by the vicious invasion of her private life that she missed consecutive closed-door practice sessions. Rumors began circulating that she was considering taking an extended leave of absence from the league, paralyzed by the realization that no matter how hard she worked on the hardwood, her name would always be weaponized for corporate profit. Meanwhile, panic tore through the corporate sponsors backing the league. Top-tier shoe brands, beverage giants, and insurance companies began threatening to pull multi-million-dollar endorsement deals unless the WNBA took immediate, sweeping disciplinary action against the network executives and journalists responsible for orchestrating the hit job. League headquarters was transformed into a continuous legal war zone, with emergency board meetings running late into the night as lawyers frantically drafted damage control strategies. The media machine that had worked so tirelessly to exploit Clark was now burning down from the inside, trapped under the weight of its own greed and exposed corruption. Yet, even as the public outrage reached a fever pitch and executives scrambled to save their multi-billion-dollar media contracts, an even more terrifying secret was quietly preparing to leak from inside the league's inner circle, a bombshell that would change the trajectory of Clark's career forever. Just when the sports media ecosystem believed the fallout had reached its absolute peak, the ultimate betrayal was exposed from deep within the inner sanctum of the league itself. A high-ranking whistleblower leaked a series of encrypted audio files detailing a hidden meeting held prior to the press conference, revealing that the predatory media questioning was not simply an independent effort by hungry journalists trying to farm clicks. The leaked audio proved that elements within the league's own executive board had actively collaborated with top network producers to authorize the aggressive line of questioning, seeking to deliberately break Clark's public image to regain bargaining leverage in upcoming contract negotiations. The corporate hierarchy was deeply terrified of Clark's unprecedented influence, realizing that her individual brand carried more economic weight than the administrative board itself, and they were willing to orchestrate her public psychological destruction to keep her under corporate control. When Clark learned that the very league she had elevated to unprecedented global dominance had betrayed her at the highest executive level, the emotional devastation transformed into an unshakable, ice-cold resolve. Surrounded by legal heavyweights and joined on stage by Sophie Cunningham and a powerful coalition of top players, Clark broke her silence to make an announcement that sent seismic shockwaves through global sports history. She officially filed a monumental, multi-billion-dollar lawsuit targeting the league executive board and major media networks, charging them with systematic psychological harassment, breach of contract, and corporate conspiracy. In a terrifying ultimatum that brought the entire multi-billion-dollar women's basketball industry to a dead stop, Clark declared a total boycott of all league activities, vowing to never step foot on a WNBA court again until every single executive involved in the conspiracy was permanently removed from power. The entire financial infrastructure of the sport instantly teetered on the brink of total collapse, with television ratings dropping overnight, season tickets being canceled en masse, and corporate sponsors freezing hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. The global audience watched in absolute, paralyzed shock as the golden child of basketball turned the tables on her corporate captors, threatening to completely dismantle the institution that had tried to destroy her. As emergency executive meetings panic assembled in cities across the nation, an unexpected, anonymous transmission was sent to major news outlets worldwide. The file contained a countdown timer linked to a secure server, holding a trove of unreleased video footage that reportedly documented every single secret executive phone call made during the crisis. With the entire sport hanging by a razor-thin thread and the clock rapidly ticking down to zero, fans across the globe are left staring into the abyss of one agonizing question. Will this historic legal war completely destroy the future of women's basketball, or will Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham successfully tear down the corrupt machine forever? This entire scandal has permanently shattered the illusion of modern sports media, exposing the horrifying lengths corporate networks and league executives will go to exploit their biggest stars for ratings and profit. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham took a terrifying, heroic stand against an unethical media machine, but this war is far from over. The truth is finally out in the open, and the global sports community is demanding real accountability, radical transparency, and immediate justice for the players who pour their hearts into the game. Where do you stand in this historic conflict? Do you believe Caitlin Clark should completely dismantle this system by walking away, or do you want to see her step back onto the court and defeat her detractors through pure basketball dominance? Drop your thoughts, reactions, and furious opinions in the comments section below right now. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a single update as this monumental multi-billion-dollar legal war unfolds in real time.